President Trump slams the door on Canada, ending all trade talks after Ottawa airs an ad using Ronald Reagan's own words on tariffs. Plus, a legendary name caught in a massive gambling ring. The feds say it involved poker, payouts, and organized crime. And a high-stakes getaway straight out of a movie. The jewel thieves' cherry picker escape, now caught on video. The stories that matter, clear and credible. From across the country to around the world. These are your unbiased updates from Straight Arrow News. Good morning, I'm Craig Negrelli. President Trump this morning cutting off trade talks with Canada all over a television ad. In a post on Truth Social, Trump blasted a Canadian ad campaign that uses old Ronald Reagan video and audio, warning that tariffs, quote, hurt every American worker and consumer. He called the spot fraudulent and accused Canada of trying to interfere with the U.S. Supreme Court, which will hear a case next month on whether his global tariffs are even legal. Here's a snippet.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
The Reagan Foundation confirms the audio was used without permission and claims the ad misrepresents the original radio address, an address they encourage people to listen to in full that the former president gave in April of 1987. It all comes a day after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced his country will double non-U.S. exports over the next decade, saying Trump's tariffs left them no choice. Carney met with President Trump earlier this month to try to ease trade tensions. Canada remains America's second biggest trading partner behind Mexico, with hundreds of billions in goods flowing both ways each year. This morning, the fallout continues from a shocking NBA scandal, a coach, a player, and the mob. Portland Trail Blazers head coach and Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier have been released from jail after being indicted in two separate federal gambling cases linked to organized crime. They're among 34 people charged, including suspected members of New York's Bonanno, Genovese, Gambino, and Lucchese crime families. Billups is accused of using his celebrity status to draw high rollers into rigged poker games, games that prosecutors say used fixed shuffling machines, even X-ray tech to read cards. The operation stretched from the Hamptons to Las Vegas and pulled in at least $7 million. When players could not pay up, the mob allegedly turned violent. Rozier and former player Damon Jones are charged in a related case, accused of illegal betting on NBA games. Rozier's lawyer says he's been cleared before and plans to fight back.
What I can tell you is there's a lot of people that are very close-lipped about what happened in 2023, but what I was told is there was an investigation. They interviewed him twice. They took his phone, downloaded everything, and at the end of the day, they said there's nothing to see here and cleared him. But we got a trophy hunt, so we're going to fight it.
FBI Director Kash Patel says the charges include wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, and illegal gambling, calling it one of the largest sports betting rings in recent memory. President Trump heads to Asia tonight, his first trip there since returning to office. A high-stakes swing that could reshape global trade and test relations with China. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed the president will meet with Xi Jinping next week in South Korea on the sidelines of the APEC summit.
On Thursday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with President Xi of the People's Republic of China before departing to return home to Washington, D.C.
The two leaders met in 2017 at Mar-a-Lago, then again 2 years later in Japan. This time, the stakes are even higher as the full-blown trade war erupts over rare earth minerals and magnets, new 100% U.S. tariffs, and China's role in fentanyl exports. Trump says that will be his first question for Xi, calling the issue right at the front of the list. The president will also stop in Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea before returning to Washington next week. A diplomatic clash is brewing between Washington and Israel, right as Vice President J.D. Vance wrapped up a high-profile visit to the country. The Knesset, which is Israel's parliament, passing a symbolic vote to annex part of the West Bank. The move caught the White House off guard and clearly struck a nerve. The vote came while Vance was still in the country, and U.S. officials say it undercut the administration's push to lock in a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. On the tarmac in Tel Aviv before departing, Vance did not hide his frustration.
I mean, look, if it was a political stunt, it was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some insult to it. The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. That will continue to be our policy. And if people want to take symbolic votes, they can do that. But we certainly weren't happy about it.
President Trump asked about the issue back in Washington, snapping at a reporter's question.
Don't worry about the West Bank. Israel's not going to do anything with the West Bank, okay? Don't worry about it. Is that your question? They're not going to do anything with the West Bank. Don't worry about it.
The administration is now trying to keep its peace effort on track, with a new U.S.-Israel Coordination Center opening in southern Israel to serve as a hub for stabilization efforts in Gaza. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio was in Israel, meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday to continue negotiations. Wait till you see this. New video this morning and a bizarre twist in what's being called the heist of the century. Surveillance video making the rounds online shows two of the Louvre thieves making their getaway not on foot, but look, on a cherry picker. One wearing a motorcycle helmet, the other a yellow construction vest. The pair lower themselves from a broken window, then take off on a motorcycle into the Paris night. Investigators say the entire operation took just 7 minutes from the moment they cut through the glass to the moment they vanished. They got away with 8 imperial jewelry pieces worth more than $100 million. The Louvre's director admits security weaknesses, including a camera pointed the wrong way, failing to capture the very window where the thieves got in and out. Finally this morning, you spoke and we listened. Every week, we pull your best comments and questions from our YouTube community. And this week, one topic towered above the rest. This is Straight From You, where your curiosity drives the conversation. We break down fact from fiction, minus the spin. This week, the one topic that stood out above the rest, the demolition at the White House. This viewer asked, many presidents have renovated the White House. Why is that a bad thing? A lot of you have strong feelings about this, so let's dig in. First, on the plans. No comprehensive plans have been made public. Construction is already underway without a formal sign-off from the National Capital Planning Commission. The commission's Trump-appointed chair says its authority applies to rebuilding, not demolition. That's according to PBS and the AP. Renderings released by the White House show a ballroom inspired by Mar-a-Lago, but President Trump insists it will pay total respect to the existing structure. Until plans are filed, no one really knows how connected or how intrusive the addition will be. Now, why the backlash? History shows renovations have rarely been controversy-free. The White House Historical Association notes Thomas Jefferson's East and West colonnades drew criticism for aristocratic optics. Andrew Jackson's North Portico triggered cost complaints during an economic downturn. The price tag, about $850,000. Teddy Roosevelt's 1902 overhaul that created the West Wing upset some lawmakers over the expense and the loss of conservatories. Franklin D. Roosevelt added the East Wing and an indoor pool amid partisan pushback. And Harry Truman's 1948 to 1952 renovation, rebuilding the interior walls behind the original walls, was fiercely debated at the time. But this current project stands out for its scale, speed, secrecy, and funding. The new ballroom is 90,000 square feet, big enough for nearly 1,000 guests. A former chief historian for the White House Historical Association told The Hill there's never been anything like that before. ABC News adds that this is the first major construction on the grounds in nearly 80 years. On money, the White House says private donors will foot the bill, not taxpayers. Estimates are now up to $300 million. One report says $22 million of that comes from a YouTube settlement tied to a Trump lawsuit. Late yesterday, the White House released a full list of donors, including Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, Comcast, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and T-Mobile. All right, there's a lot there. Hope that helps. Keep those comments coming. We read them, we track them, and we answer them right here. We'll tackle the biggest ones again next week. By the way, check out more of our stories on the app where unbiased is not a tagline, it's certified. All Sides calls us unbiased. NewsGuard gives us a perfect score for reliability. Facts first, without the spin. Those are your unbiased updates for this Friday. We'll see you back here on Monday. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a fantastic weekend.